Hola, bom dia. Carl here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube channel and podcast. And we look at a slightly serious subject this morning. If I'll go straight to it, actually. To me, this is the big news at the moment. And I will just preface what I'm going to say with this being a conversation. If you've not joined us before, we're all about Portuguese news, weather, chat, guests, and the Casa do Dia, all about living in Portugal or moving to Portugal and being an expat, an explorer, a digger and a dreamer over here in Portugal. And obviously one really big issue here in moving to Portugal are the forest fires. And I want to cover this morning because there are people who need help down there in the south of Portugal. And I think we should also have a more general conversation about the challenge of forest fires in Portugal. It is, of course, a natural phenomenon in a country where there are high temperatures, but there's also another side to it, as there are with most things, right? There's always more. There's more to life than we think. Generally speaking, there's more to everything than we think, and I would like to think we can have a conversation about that here, rather than just present a particular view, which often isn't very satisfying. And that's what we've got to with the pandemic, of course. You know, we presented all the information about the pandemic to help people in Portugal be here safely, and we provided a service in English. And as that's unfolded, there's more to it that we've begun to talk about as well. But we'll stick to fires today. And you'll see it revolves around what's been reported here by the Portugal resident. Firefighters tackle massive blaze straddling 3 West Algarve boroughs. Now, this was first reported on the 19th of June by the Portugal resident, but there are updates here to share with you about how it unfolded. And of course, at the end, the most important thing is to help people who have been made homeless by this. And that's the nature of these things, isn't it? Is that after the headlines have disappeared, it affects people's lives because the problems that are reported in the news always affect people on a personal and individual level after the whole news juggernaut has moved on, and there's that very dramatic picture there. And I should preface this by saying, of course, that June the 17th, only a week ago, was the anniversary of the deadly fires of Portugal in June 2017. I arrived here with my family in September of 2017. It was in the aftermath of that, and there were still fires blazing all across Portugal, and you could see the landscape all over Portugal, just like charred hillsides and just like, charred matchsticks of trees on the landscape. And it was really horrible. And it was that year when 66 people died and 204 people were injured through what's described as I'm looking at Wikipedia, a series of 4 initial deadly wildfires erupted across central Portugal on the afternoon of the 17th of June 2017, within minutes of each other. And this was mainly in the Pedrógão Grande municipality. And it affected people who were escaping in their cars predominantly. So 66 people died in 2017 and 204 people were injured, and fires have continued. And as I say, they are a natural phenomenon, forest fires, but there is another side to it as well, because we're not helping ourselves typically as human beings with this situation. So let's have a read through. Let's go, over 200, to give you a sense of the scale of what happened on Friday, Saturday, over the weekend in the Algarve. Over 230 firefighters from across the Algarve tackled the major fire which broke out in Bodeira, Algesur, just before 1 o'clock. It was on Friday. They were backed by 10 planes and helicopters and over 70 appliances. And as I saw this, something, if you're going to live in Portugal and you're going to be anywhere near where a fire may happen, it's very important you have the fogos.pt website to refer to it, as I've put up on my picture there. This is what tends to happen. The flames were fanned by strong gusts of wind of between 40 and 55 kilometers. And at that point, they were getting far too close to people and homes and property, and 30 people were evacuated. The blaze raged intensely on 2 fronts through scrubland, pitted with pockets of pine and the dreaded eucalyptus. And I added the dreaded there, and rock rose, all of which are highly inflammable around the hamlet of Villarinha. The next door touristic hamlet of Pedralva is also potentially under threat, was potentially under threat, as was the much larger village of Budange and the Mata Nacional do Barro do São João, the area of forest that leads east towards the villages of Barro São Miguel and Barro do São João. So they were the water bombing with aircraft, and they were cutting fire breaks with earth-moving equipment. It was a full-on and horrific situation there. So on Saturday, over 460 firefighters with 148 appliances were there. Air support as well, consistently there. 9 a.m., the blaze was still going on two fronts. And by 6 p.m., the air support had reached double figures of aircraft that were trying to bring the blaze under control. And it was on the Saturday that the fire was pronounced dominated, but the wind kept the authorities occupied. Flare-ups came and went and were dealt with, and then they reignited again, presumably because of the high winds there. Situation was still far from over. And let's go to Sunday, just fast forward there, because what I really want to do is just give you a sense of what happened, but also just how you can help people. Fire has been declared in the resolution phase, or it was by Sunday, and for all intents and purposes, it was out, apart from hotspots that remained and the danger of flare-ups, obviously. And that must become very difficult when they're just little pockets of possible flare-ups that the firefighters, our beloved bomberos, have to keep an eye on and just watch and wait. And that must take hours, right? If not days. And yeah, I've heard of people who've had fires, and the ground is still glowing days afterwards, and can reignite. So they were, by Sunday, there were 6 air support aircraft and over 150 appliances and still hundreds of firefighters. And as you might imagine, groups were formed over social media to help people who had lost everything. And it says here, they hadn't been mentioned significantly in press reports for the simple reason these unlucky people were living in homes they had lovingly constructed over years, but which weren't licensed or otherwise legal. Now, that's obviously a problem, isn't it? But I mean, that's no reason not to report on it. So we'll share that here. Let's just quickly go and find out who's here this morning. And I would like to hear your views on this. Like I said, this is a conversation, okay? So bon dia, Carl from the Daydreamers on the Algarve. Yes, hi, and good morning to you, Claire and Steve. Lovely to hear from you. Bon dia from Anna Lucia, who's in UK. A new name here, Asaf. Good morning to you, Asaf. Stephanie, hola a todos. And Peter saying, on Sunday, there's a small village fire in Pera, started by a tree falling in an electric line. Crikey, if it's not one thing, it's another. Luckily, it was within the village and thus spotted. If it had been out in the forest, it would have been disastrous. So it sounds like you're all over it there, Peter, with your excellent support network in that village. That village is idyllic with how people have a sense of civic duty. Certainly, that's how Peter shares it with us. Hi from Inglaterra, from Wayne. Good morning to you, Wayne. Good morning to you, Jeff. Bon dia, everyone. Bon dia from Will Thompson, who I know, fist in the air there, he was our correspondent when we started talking about what was going on with coronavirus. We plotted our own graph whilst we were flattening the curve, if I can mix metaphors there. Will, great to have you along this morning. The trouble is that nothing has changed in the 3 years since the June 2017 fires. And this is it, Peter. This is what I'm concerned about. Some company has even been delivering booklets to residents on how, excuse me, to apply for subsidies to plant even more eucalyptus. You see, that makes no sense at all. It's people's lives we're talking about potentially, and the idea of planting more eucalyptus to me seems crazy. I guess the wood pulp industry has more resources than other organizations. Ain't that the truth? And isn't that how it tends to work? And Boaz is here this morning. Many more. Yeah, see, this is it. This is what was referred to in that piece there about how things weren't evacuated because it's as though people weren't official. Like, if you're a person, you're a person, right? It doesn't matter in this sort of situation whether your dwelling was licensed or not, in my view, and what sort of lifestyle you're living. People are people. And Bar's saying there many more than 30 people were evacuated. And he is telling us that from the fire zone at Baral Saint-Joal. Any more you can tell us, be grateful, Boaz. Who needs help there? That's what we're trying to establish this morning. So let's just go back a little bit more to that report from the Portugal resident there, because it has the click-throughs for the GoFundMes. Now, I think there's been some difficulty with some of these, okay? So we'll open both of them up and we'll have a look at what they have to say. I'll just leave that visual for you there to see the scale of what was going on at the time. And we are going into the GoFundMe campaigns. Get funded. Sorry, not GoFundMe. There is a GoFundMe and there is a Get Funded. Okay, so there are two. There's a Dutch one, it seems. And like, I don't know, how do you choose? And I can't read Dutch to you, so I can't really tell you, but more horrific pictures. I mean, it's just like apocalyptic, biblical when you see the pictures. Truly terrifying. I mean, the closest I've come to this is just being in central Portugal and smelt it and seen the aftermath. That is terrifying enough to me, let alone a fire that is fully active. So I can't share the one with you. I mean, I'll put all these links afterwards in the show, in the comments of the show today. But the one I am going to read from is the wildfire support for families Algarve. And the problem with this one is that it's been paused by GoFundMe. I don't know what that's about. Let me just share this one with you. A comment from Gary. I saw a documentary about these fires which detailed a lot about what happened. I've tried to find this again because I was staying with a couple who feared this in this program just a couple of weeks before this event. Yeah, I mean, there are documentaries, and people are doing really good work to bring to our attention the pitfalls, the problems behind these fires, and we do really have to deal with it, don't we? I mean, it's easy for me to say, and there are so many things we have to deal with that we aren't. So let us see if we can keep this at the front of our consciousness and see what we can do about it. So let me just share with you the here we go. Wildfire support for families Algarve. You see the area affected there. Boudins was mentioned, and these terrifying pictures of what it was like at night. And they managed to raise €2,495 so far. This is Lucy Cannon and two others are organising this fundraiser. Dear fundraisers, a little update on what's going on with the crowdfunding. This GoFundMe campaign is annoyingly on hold as some verifications have to be processed and it's taking ages. Not what you need when you have an emergency fundraiser GoFundMe. I'm sure they earn enough money from this to be able to have decent staff teams to make things happen quickly enough. But although this is a setback, the momentum is very strong, they say here on the fundraiser. We've already raised over €8,000 so far, which is great. This is brilliant, they say, but still some way off. The information on the amount of people who've lost their homes is growing by the day. Now over 30 people have lost their homes, it would appear, from this update. We will be having a meeting this Wednesday, the 24th of June, with those affected to understand the extent of the damage and how to best distribute the funds. This meeting will have the participation of folks who have gone through a similar situation a few years back in Montchique. Okay, in addition to these people that can share their knowledge and experience, there'll be some of the main help organisers of that emergency. So yes, there's a whole curve to this, isn't there? This will help us massively moving forwards, they say. Thank you so much for your support so far, really. Onwards and upwards, and photos there, some more shocking photos of the aftermath. Yeah, so this is the whole sort of curve of it, isn't it? The terror of it occurring and the aftermath. And of course, as the news coverage moves away and it moves out of our consciousness, there are people who are still needing to build their lives back again. And they've raised over €8,000. But I mean, that's probably enough money for one family group, isn't it? And this is over 30 people. So would be good for us all to dig in and chip in a little bit. That's the nature of crowdfunding, isn't it? A little bit from a lot of people ends up as a lot of money. So let's do that and help them. But I have to say, I don't know where you should, if that's live to donate now or not. It seems to be on hold. But I'm sure, Boaz, donations paused. There you go. So we'll have to figure out other ways and keep this live on the Good Morning Portugal page and see where money can help. One of the places that was particularly affected was Vega, which I'll just show you in a minute. Let's have a look at what Boaz is saying. The best way to help the people who lost their homes and are still coping with the shock results is here. This group has all the links in one place, I believe. Perfect, Boris. Thank you for that. So there is a Facebook group. The link is there now. Click through to that. People have lost thousands of euros they've invested in alternative farming and off-grid sustainable ways of living. Heartbreaking, basically. I was watching a documentary at the weekend called Need to Grow, which I commend to you. In America, some really incredible pioneers who are regenerative farmers, basically, and finding a way to shortcut, short circuit, find quick ways to repair and regenerate the earth, the soil especially, and just basically grow decent food. And one guy who's got this system, the GPH, which is a mixture of biochar and algae production. Quite incredible, man. Genius, I would say. Had his place burnt. It was in a fire as well, and slightly suspicious circumstances as well, as to be said. But let's not dwell on that. Let's just kind of help him and these other people. He did rebuild it, actually, and I would recommend that to you. It's very inspiring. And we need that, don't we? As well as this shock of these events, we need the inspiration as well. Boaz adding, there are also hundreds of animals that were affected, from pets, some of which are still missing, to horses, sheep, donkeys, and more. Oh, God, it gets worse, doesn't it? So I want to share it with you as well. A quick look at Vega. Here we go. Sustainable and ethical living. One such project that was affected, I believe. Vega is a platform that helps you make your dream of sustainable and ethical lifestyle a reality. The core values of veganism, self-sustainability, and freedom are combined with ambitious entrepreneurship and creativity. Basic rules in alignment with these core values make up our manifests, which all members must accept in order to join. The long-term goal is led by example and inspire others to also follow a sustainable and ethical lifestyle. We want to show what's possible and are aiming to develop several completely vegan and self-sustainable regions all over the world, starting with the first acquisition of Vegan Hills in the Algarve, southwest Portugal. Now, sadly, I believe they've been massively set back in this situation. I'm not a vegan, but just their sense of what they're doing here, and what they're trying to do, what they're trying to share with the world, I think is really inspiring. And then they get massively set back. So I would go there as well. Look at what Vegan Hills and Vegan are up to, and how they can be supported as well if you have a particular leaning towards that. But I mean, we're certainly all about sustainable, ethical lifestyles, self-sustainability, and freedom here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. And we send our love and solidarity to you. Yeah, entrepreneurship and creativity, we're all about that. And some of us are vegan, some are not. But the point is that they were trying to set up something really inspiring and useful for people to learn from and be inspired by. And it would appear a lot of that is lost. So do help if you can. We have from Will here. Sadly, I know several people who lost homes in 2017, had terrible rebuild stories, cheap, terrible rebuilt houses, uninhabitable, leaking with no utilities, and therefore no habitation license. All a big waste of time for them. I wonder if this is the same across Portugal after 2017. This is getting worse. This is a right old downer this morning here, isn't it, on the Good Morning Portugal live stream? But I think we are obliged in many ways to speak of it and come up with some creative solutions. What I'm thinking right here is, this is a message that we have felt, that's been driven home by the pandemic, by the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis, is that whilst you can look to the government for help, I'm not sure any government anywhere in the world can be relied upon. And we have to start looking after ourselves and each other, don't we? And there are certainly signs of that, which is really good. But I think we have to probably step that up and not expect. If we keep looking towards the government, we will be disappointed. Certainly, I think government help should be complemented by our own efforts and our help towards each other. Now, I'm not saying, that sounds like a cop-out for the government, and I might sound like some sort of libertarian prepper from the United States. God bless them. I'm not talking about separation, polarization. I'm just talking about the reality here of how it is. We might believe in a system, and have done for decades, possibly centuries, that is not sustainable or helpful or provides all the help we need. Yeah, no, never a better time for a laughing jingle. I don't think I've got that loaded up, unfortunately, Boaz, but bless you, mate. You're obviously needing and keeping your sense of humor at these difficult times. Here's something that might make you laugh, but not for the right reasons necessarily. On the face of it, pretty good, actually. This is about how government policy might be changing the situation around forest fires. This is from the Publico paper, Grupo Amorim, which I won't. Thankfully, that's just suddenly translated before my very eyes. Thank goodness for that. And it has a paywall on it, so I can't read you the whole thing, but we'll get the gist here. I posted it up in the Good Morning Portugal page yesterday. Amorim Group gets greater slice of support to replace eucalyptus with resilient forest. By that, they mean, I think, native forest. The 3 trees that have been mentioned this morning on the show are flammable ones. And I don't think they're native. They may or may not be. That's not the point. I mean, they're here anyway. But it doesn't make sense, does it, to keep planting more flammable trees in the country prone to forest fires? That just makes no sense. And here we sniff the problem, of course, of the commercial aspect of these things, and possibly why things persist, because they make a hell of a lot of money for people who don't even bloody well live anywhere near the forests and whose lives are affected by their planting. So let's hope. I mean, I don't want to vilify anybody, because I just want these people to understand what's going on, such that their human nature allows them to make different decisions. I can't, at the moment, there's so much blaming and shaming of people. I don't see that as a useful strategy for moving forward and getting people to change their behavior. We do not get people to change their behavior very well, possibly only superficially, by shaming and blaming them. Okay, that's not going to work. I think we need to be a bit more grown up about it. I do understand everyone's outrage about so many issues in the world, but blaming and shaming people does not work. It really doesn't. I think that's what we're finding out at the moment. It just causes division and fighting. It's not the way to peace. It's not the way to peaceful transformation. That's my 2 pence. The company that owns the property property in Tejo International receives 438,000 euros of pilot project financed in 2020 by 1.46 million from the Environmental Fund. Now, I think this is a way, possibly. This is why I say it might make you laugh, and not in a good way. Is this looks like big money at work, doesn't it? This looks like European money at work that probably once funded the planting of flammable trees that cause chaos and devastation, and is now trying to do something about it. From an office in Brussels, a remote office that knows nothing about the lives of people on the ground, and now they're trying to replace the eucalyptus, as it was such a problem, with a more resilient forest. Give the money to people locally is my suggestion. And as somebody said in not Pure Portugal, they probably did say it in Pure Portugal, but on Good Morning Portugal yesterday, it's great to see this, but it's just, to paraphrase them, it's just big money at work. Amorim are a giant corporation. This money is not going to people to, can you imagine what sort of world we could have if money of that kind, of that scale, were given to people for local regeneration projects and regenerative farming, regenerative forests? Can you imagine if that money were given to people like Peter and his neighbors in Castanheira da Pera, who know how to manage their locality because they live there, they know the place, they know what, and for better or for worse, it's better to have people who know their landscape, who know each other, spending the money, investing the money in things that they know will help them, not designed by bureaucrats and people elsewhere, a long way away, who are just looking at numbers and looking at their political lives and their political sustainability. What we need is real on the ground understanding and properly funded. That's where I think government should come in, is diverting the funds to there, but also raise money locally and keep it closed loop, keep it local, keep it simple. Anyway, better not start ranting. Let's have a look. Will is saying they could have taken the do-it-yourself, less money option and done sustainable small housing with off-grid solutions. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Will, and been much better off while employing local people. Absolutely, because everything is a gravy train, isn't it, to where there's big money sloshing around. So, the big money pots will move from planting flammable trees to then dealing with the problem by investing in something else. And then contractors, these big contracts are given to people on websites, aren't they? They bear no resemblance or connection or reference to the locality. I imagine you have people coming in, contractors who don't really care that much. They're obviously earning a living like we're all trying to do. And they come in, they build the homes, and then they're gone. And there's very little accountability in that. The problem is deeper. says Boaz. Literally here, eucalyptus roots reach 20 to 60 meters deeper over native trees. Is that meters? Crikey. So as long as we keep depleting the aquifer by water mismanagement and crazy water intense plantations, this will continue to be a problem, and local wells will keep drying up, giving the eucalyptus further advantage. This becomes more heartbreaking the more we look at it, but we are strong, and the time is now to be dealing with these things, right? It is in our face. We are having our faces rubbed in these problems. So and also, like I'm saying, I don't think we can keep looking to the government to sort it out. We need to come together en masse and locally to deal with these things and organize ourselves appropriately. Wow, Boaz. Yeah, and there's a massive problem, isn't there, with huge, again, corporations in these areas who are growing monoculture crops, and this is not helping. It's not natural. It's not helpful. It's not sustainable. It is all about the money. And have we not learned just recently that, I mean, it's just like Chief Seattle, that you can't eat money. You can make loads of it in the vain hope that you can protect yourself with all your money in your bank. But it's really not helping, is it? This little handful of billionaires, these scared little boys with all their masses of money. And what does it lead to? It just leads to this sort of suffering, as far as I can see. I must say that we're surrounded by pine and eucalyptus forests as well over there in Castanera de Pera. But the valley base has plenty of oaks, chestnuts, cork oaks, which will help protect us. That's it. It's got to be native species, interplanted, ecosystems, right? Nature knows best. Are we not learning that? Wayne Barker says commercial forests also an issue. Nature develops natural breaks in density. Companies fill those gaps. Absolutely right, Wayne. You seem to know something about this. No place for fires to burn out where nature is doing her thing. Oh, mama. We'll get it right soon. Our part of the valley was the only part not burnt during the 2017 fires, and everyone expects it to burn at some time in the future. Very resigned about the lack of change. So even in this far-sighted little village town, they are resigned about the lack of change there, it would seem. But, let's hope we can keep chipping away, keeping our consciousness around this, keeping our efforts around this to do something. And like I said before, fires are natural things in nature, but we are not helping. We are really not helping with this problem. So please do continue. I mean, I'll probably put something about this in the Expats Portugal forum that I've started. We've got our own little area of the Expats Portugal, got our own little colony in the Expats Portugal forum. So I'll pop something in there about this, and we need to help those people. I mean, that's the thing here. There are people who've lost their homes, their lifestyles, their dreams, really, because of this. Shit happens, excuse my language, and we're here to help each other, aren't we? It's a bit like the British-Portuguese Treaty of Windsor. There was, in that, from, was it 1366, lies a responsibility to come to the aid of the other. We have that as human beings, I think. We are kind of trained out of it, aren't we, because of this fear thing, which is what money's all about, I think. The vast accumulation of money is a fear-based thing. And that's why I call these little boys, the Tesla guy, Elon Musk and Bezos and Soros and Trump. They all got their money, haven't they? And that's their way of triumphing over other people, and that's how we do it in these modern times, in these Game of Thrones times. It's what's playing out before us in this battle of these billionaires for world domination. Whilst that's happening, all the people who just want to naturally go about their lives are massively affected by the behavior of these billionaires and their corporations and all these other little corporations who seem very unaccountable and seem to go about doing what they want to do in their own sweet way without much redress. But there are millions of us, and all we need to do is organize ourselves. It's a bit like resources in the world. There's enough for everybody. There's enough money. There are enough natural resources. We just haven't figured out the organization to make it work properly. But we really can if we apply ourselves to that. So we've got to stop feeling like victims. We've got to stop fighting each other. And we need to organize, in my view. So I'll leave that there. But, let's keep this alive in terms of helping people, obviously. And that very helpfully, Boaz has given us a group that is probably the central point now to refer to. I would like to leave that on the screen if I can find it among your many comments this morning, which really I'm very grateful for. There you go. You'll find that in the comments around this morning's live stream, Facebook group there, where Boaz is saying, that the group has all the links in one place. So if people have had their GoFundMe stopped, you can find them with a little bit of help in another way. And of course, it's not just about money. They will need volunteers to help rebuild. So, if you've got physical energy and time more than you've got money, you can help in that way too, I believe. And Carl McAdam, good morning. How you doing, mate? Resource-based economy, Carl. There in 3 words is a clue as well. And I know Carl is working on it. Yeah, and that's the thing. Whilst today's show has been massively dominated by gloom and doom, by me just bringing you up to date with what's gone on there in South Algarve, there is also lots of amazing stuff happening, which I do think which we do focus on, and will continue to do so. Oh yeah, just practically as well, Forgosh.pt gives you a live map of what's going on fire-wise. You need to know that, and you need to know the emergency numbers. We've already covered this. We did this last week in some act of foresight, but I think a week ago or so, we did a live stream centered around, the emergency numbers, the preparation, forest fire preparedness, basically. Also, building materials and tools are needed. There you go. All sorts of ways you can help. Very informative this morning, Carl. We were heading that way soon. We may have to rethink, absolutely, or get down there with your big muscles. Claire and Stephen, chip in with a bit of help if you want to do that. All sorts of ways to help, as I say. So I think I do need a little bit of light relief. And I'm going to share with you a Casa del Dia. We didn't do it yesterday. I made mention of it, though. And this is by way of a Casa del Dia, but also just to introduce you to someone I really like, who is in our constituency, in our community, somebody who is wanting to move to Portugal. We've all been in that condition. Some of us still are. And this is Justice, who writes this blog, Shoes. Oh, this is a different one. That's because I'm looking at the wrong one, I think. No, I'm not. I'm looking at the right one. I thought this blog was called something else, but I'm confusing them. Maybe like a lot of people there are multiple bloggers working under different names. Not unlike our great Portuguese poet who had Pessoa, who I was calling Paixão. Fernando Pessoa wrote under 75 different. He didn't like to call them pseudonyms because he thought they were each a person. Fully represented, like sort of multiple personality blogger. But anyway, Justice might be doing the same thing. This is whythealgarve.com, which has a poignancy about it, obviously, with all we've just said. Taking a peek at property in central Portugal, thought-provoking. The blog originally is Why the Algarve. He's had his head turned here to look at Castelo Branco, and why wouldn't you with that beautiful landscape? But again, not immune from forest fires. We do have to be so careful. And looking particularly here, this is Casa del Dia time, at a €33,000 bargain by the look of it, with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a lovely place. Look at this, the great photos. I actually do want to start a Facebook group of Portuguese property photos. You know the ones I mean, that are just like 27 black bin liners in a cellar, along with 40 crates, half-filled crates with cobwebs on. And people put those pictures up trying to sell a house. I mean, there are some howlers, and we could have a lot of fun with that group, I think. But here you go. Idealista are doing a bit of a better job here with some decent photos of this wonderful property. And Justice is writing here. Excuse me. I thought it was a little bit of intro here about why his head was turned. But certainly... let me tell you a bit more about the property. Detached house, 2 floors, 176 square meters of built property, 70 square meter floor area. It's a T3 with 2 bathrooms and a land plot of 4,500 just about square meters. Terrace, balcony. It's second hand and needs renovating. Storeroom, southern orientation, and not a good energy efficiency rating, but you wouldn't expect that, I don't think. And a lot of garden. And there's its location, very central Portugal. As Justice says. So, and these are such thorough Casa del Dia. This is what I should be doing, really, rather than just doing videos of property listings. But look, he goes as far as to do a screen grab using Google Street Map, which if you are looking for property and you haven't thought about this, it's a really good way to get a look on the ground virtually. And look at that lovely view you get from around this property. Lovely river valley view there. To be frank, though, Not the greatest roads for walking, he says, narrow and twisted, but being backcountry Portugal, I would imagine always empty. Absolutely, Justice. This is Madeira, not the Madeira, but a typical village in the area. Really good and thorough research here of this particular part of town, and another Google Street Map view there of Portuguese grandma looking at the Google camera, maybe thinking, what the hell is that? And in this area, the Castelo Branco district, not Castelo Branco city, it's 2.5 hours to Lisbon, in case you don't know. I mean, I have been featuring a lot of property in this area. To Porto, it's 2.25 hours. To Coimbra, 1.25 hours. To Castelo Branco, 1.25 hours the same. So it's very centrally located in all senses here. To Pedrógão Grande, obviously the place of the terrible fires of 2017, 30 minutes away. And you would hope, wouldn't you, that this, the epicenter of those fires would be the epicenter of regenerative work to stop this happening ever again. Let's hope so. Fingers crossed there. A village with some amenities in Pedrógão Grande. It is a lovely little town, actually, been there. And Pampilhosa da Serra is 25 minutes away. Again, a lovely little village town with some good amenities. So this is so thorough. whythealgarve.com, and a look at this property, 33,000 euros in Castelo Branco. And very deep, a blog worth following. This is good. This is really useful intel. Weather Spark is a website for looking at the weather in other parts of the world if you can't experience it directly yourself. And this is a really important factor when you are choosing property in Portugal. And the way I put it is like, do you want to spend your life cooling down, or do you want to spend your life warming up? That really will help you where you are in Portugal, because there are extremes of temperature here. It's so amazingly useful, says Justice, about Weather Spark, and it's great that it will be getting its own entry today. This is the Weather Spark page for Pedrógão Grande. Look, and it gives you all the stats for what you're up against throughout the year in terms of that, and you see how hot it gets in Castelo Branco there. So that's really good. Weather Spark, we'll commend that as well to everybody. Even right down to average hourly temperature across the year, and growing season, very useful too. Look, that's what us homesteaders need as well. Growing season information, obviously subject to climate change. Obviously, we'll barrel of laughs this morning, aren't we? But look, rainfall, cloud cover, absolutely fantastic. So let's just quickly go through the pros and cons, and we'll leave it there today. Price, holy SH1T, says Justice, 33,000 euros. I have been restrained on this point up to now, but holy shit, he says 33,000 euros, just so little for what you get. I still can't get over it. Yeah, you're unlikely to find those prices in the Algarve. The property on the small side, only an acre. That's enough, I think, for a permaculturist, a bit of forest gardening. But it does a lot with that acre. There are landscape terraces to provide some flat areas, room for some gardening, established fruit trees, and there is some privacy. The house and other structures, really both a pro and a con. The pro is that it looks livable, and only a few things need dire attention. The roof looks good. I mean, for 33,000 euros, you're going to expect that. Roof looks good as well as we can see it. The garage is decent. There is storage in the wine cellar. The other outbuildings have no roofs, but could be adapted for kinds of storage. View and setting just spectacular. Borehole, well and cistern. This is not mentioned in the blurb, but there is something concrete and water related in the yard. Very likely it does have its own private water source, Justice. The neighbourhood, there is one with people living nearby. Extremely close proximity to both mountain vistas and freshwater recreation. And if he hasn't bought it already, there it is, 33,000 euros. And obviously the cons, the fire hazard. I would find it difficult to live in a place with such a high risk of wildfire. Yep. All that we've said already today. I will be watching what happens this fire season with great interest, especially with possible corona impacts on fire management. They were all over it, Justice, I have to say. The Bombeiros, the beloved Bombeiros, there in great numbers. I don't think there was any sense of limitation. Those guys just thought, pandemic to one side, let's fight this fire. Same problem there in BC, in North America. This is a place of natural wildfires, and what are we doing to make that better for ourselves is the question that hangs above us here. The house and other structures, the place may be livable, but only just, which is another con of the property. But happy homesteaders know about these things, and a part of the fun, and I refer to that word loosely, is in doing yourself up. Remoteness, smallness, and unevenness of the property. This is so thorough. I love it. He says in conclusion, I couldn't see moving our family there for various reasons, but boy, howdy, could this be a great place for the right couple or family of 3, 4 in a pinch? The remoteness is offset by the neighbours and the local settings/attractions. Those attractions include very easy access to 2 rivers. Speaking of ease of access, this place has it with a nice paved road up to it, not to be sneezed at. The house needs a lot of work, but it's habitable in the meantime. I would like to get a very good look at the roof and have some knowledge about the wiring. As ever, internet is critical. Knowing more about the water situation would be helpful. The property does have trees and brush on it, but nearly as much as some of the photos suggest. Okay. I like that there are storage workshop options. Most importantly, the price is simply unbeatable. Thought process. He's mulling that over there in North America. Justice, thank you so much for that. And I think let's have a look. More comments from you. A gift economy is what's needed as well. You absolutely listen to a beautiful podcast that I've put in Happy Homesteaders. It's called Peace, Permaculture and the Gift Economy. An incredible Japanese guy. We had a gift economy for 200,000 years before agriculture and hoarding. Nice reminder that was Chris Paradox, by the way. Hello, mate. Oh, so he's hijacked your feed there. Chris, who was joined us last Friday, does a live stream, of course, talking about all these issues in greater detail than me. 9 p.m. every single day. And Wayne Barker said, it's always made us laugh, the difference in photographs between UK and Portuguese estate agents. I love them. And I think it would make a very funny group, for a Facebook group as well, to put up some of those howler photographs. Dave Sheldrake, he's your man if you want photographs. He's in the Algarve. Beautiful house photos. It is getting better. And we've all got fantastic cameras on our phones now that are very capable of taking decent pictures, a lot better than some of the ones that do get past quality control or lack of it on a state agency. And I should mention as well, on Thursday of this week, we will be talking with Expats Portugal. It's first of our Portugal Calling series. We're talking to Peter, who is a buyer's advocate, who would be able to help someone like Justice with all those questions. Probably does site visits. Hell, I'll do those for you. Go and visit a site and give you an on-site report of the basics of a property. Take video and stuff, but Peter's your man on Thursday to talk to, your buyer's advocate. Every part of the buying process he covers, and also rentals as well in Portugal. So really a handy guy to know. Join us. Go to expatsportugal.com and sign up for that. It is you have to sign up, and it's limited to 50 people so that we can hear each other talk and ask questions. So if you need the help of a buyer's advocate or just want to find out what they do, and what you should be looking out for, ask any questions you've got, come join us from 8 o'clock on Thursday. Let's leave it there. This is getting harder and harder each day to limit this to a half-hour show. We've talked a lot. Those people need your help in Southern Algarve. Please do that. Go to that Facebook group, which is what I'll put up as our final comment on the screen there so that you know where to go. There we go. Boaz, thanks for your on-the-ground coverage help there. Brought my attention to this, what was happening on Saturday. We'll do all we can to help you, the Good Morning Portugal community, the Happy Homesteaders, who are really on the same wavelength as I think a lot of people there who've lost their homes and everything and their dreams, basically, and need to start again. So let's see what we can do to help. Talogo, back tomorrow. We'll be talking to another aspect of this, actually, talking to Mike Brodie, founder and CEO of Ownet, the virtual village social network. I know we're on Facebook. And I'm old enough to remember when Facebook was good, is what I say to young people now. And options are available. One of them is the community-focused social network that is Ownet, and we'll be talking. And I've done a lot of work with them, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow. How you can get involved in a social network whose future you can shape. And there is a parallel here. It is not a corporation. It will not do things to you like corporations do, without accountability, without redress. It is there to serve the community, and we'll find out more about it on the show tomorrow when we talk to its founder, the oldest startup, the oldest entrepreneur, the granddad in the incubator, we used to call him, over there in Aveiro, 71-year-old Michael Brodie, who still has a lot of socially minded lead in his pencil. Let me put it that way. We'll be talking to him tomorrow. Sorry it was so depressing in many ways today, but there's a mission there, not only to help the people who are in immediate need, but to reshape things, so we are more resilient. So we're loving Mother Nature more, because God knows she loves us. Don't you think? See you tomorrow. Take care. Taloga ate amanhã.